And then there were four. We are down to the last four teams in the 2026 FIFA World Cup after a quarterfinal round that very much delivered in this edition of the FIFA World Cup. Welcome to everyone watching or listening around the world. I'm Spencer Thompson alongside Drew Williamson. Proud to be with you from various parts of the United States. Weird fact for you, Drew, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first podcast episode that I'm recording in Nashville. Like, because the rest of them, I've been on the road. Like, it's just a weird feeling. But side note, for anyone looking on YouTube, I've got my big monitor to the side here with all of my notes. So if you see me looking over here instead of the normal looking around here, that's why. But it's weird. I mean, I'm here for 24 hours, and then we've got the full-on chaos of the semifinals and the final, as well as some other cool stuff that Drew and I will talk about later in the show. But, man, I know we're going to get into these individual match wrap-ups here, Drew, but what a quarterfinal round. And considering that we only had one blowout game and we had two of them going to extra time, like, this FIFA World Cup just keeps on giving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this, it's been an incredible tournament, and this quarterfinals was just about everything you could ask for. So many good games across the board, and really a lot of dominant teams like showing. I mean, that the final four coincidentally were the number 1 through 4 in the FIFA Coca-Cola rankings to begin the World Cup, so kind of a little bit chalk in that way, but we knew how talented these teams were, and it's going to be an amazing semifinals and finals. I can't wait.
Not only that, this is the first time in World Cup history that the top 4 on the Coca-Cola rankings have made it to the final 4, which hard to believe when we're almost to the centennial edition. Well, I say centennial, the 100-year anniversary, because it's not the 100th edition of the World Cup. But it's really hard to believe that in almost 100 years of World Cups occurring every 4 years that we haven't had the top 4 teams make it. Like, and I'm sure we've had combinations of like 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and 4, so on and so forth. But it shows. I was telling as I was transiting back to Nashville today, I was talking to somebody about this who saw my World Cup credential and mentioned that there's a more likelihood for Cinderella stories, at least in my opinion, in the World Cup than there is in March Madness at this point. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the early days of the NCAA Big Show and March Madness and all that, but now, not so much. But, it's one of those that we get to cover it. It's pretty cool. It produces a lot of drama, a lot of great stuff, and man, we got a lot of ground to cover. But first things first, who better for us to recap this first quarterfinal that I was in attendance for, but to also talk about how it was just a one-sided great victory for France-Morocco than our friend T-Bull, who is on vacation. He's cutting in and out on his connection, so I'm sure we're going to get to him fully in at some point. But if not, then we've got some good stuff to recap. But excuse me. Right now, I believe T-Ball is finally getting back in here, but you could see by his background as it comes in and out here on the stream that T-Ball is, on vacation in the west side of France, and he's enjoying his vacation. But T-Ball, pleasure to have you with us. Always good to have you join in on the show. And I'll just lead right into it. France 2, Morocco 0. I was in attendance for this matchup for the final game at Boston Stadium, and it didn't really feel like a 2-0 game, especially considering that both of France's goals came in the second half. But I hate it for Morocco, and I wish our colleague Magda could join us to be able to talk about these things. But, surprisingly for a Morocco team that possessed the ball more by a slim margin, 51% of the time, they only had 5 attempts on goal and 1 on target. And yet again, it's like we've talked about anytime you've joined us, this French back line is almost impossible to break through. And that was on display in Boston during the quarterfinal round.
Ye
Yeah, you're good.
You're fine. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that France, this really, first of all, I do want to say, brag on myself a little bit. I did predict a 2-0 France win, so happy that I got my prediction right. But
Congratulations, Drew.
thanks. I needed that. I think this game really was it really was a dominant game for France. I feel like Morocco never really created that many chances in the final third, and they were obviously missing one of their main men, their striker Saibari. Unfortunate injury to him because he was one of the Morocco's top goal scorers in this World Cup. So it was very, unfortunate to see him injured for this quarterfinal match. But I really don't know that would have made a difference. Maybe Morocco would have gotten a goal, but this France team is just so hard to beat. And the attack that we've talked about all podcast of Olise, Dembele, and Mbappe up top is just, it's so hard to defend three guys with that much talent and skill. And credit to the Moroccan goalkeeper for saving that Mbappe penalty kick in the first half. It was a poor penalty by Mbappe. I know he had to wait a little bit because there was a controversial VAR review that took a little bit of extra time, but Mbappe still should have had a better PK there. But he made up for it in the second half with the goal he scored. I mean, you give this guy an inch of space and he'll take a mile. I mean, it was an unbelievable shot. He barely even got the ball in space. He barely got it off his foot. He just struck it from outside of the box, and it was just a lovely finish. And then Dembele was able to in the game, seal it with a counterattack goal to make it 2-0. And once again, this team is just so talented. And I really do feel like they dominated this game, and it was a dominant win. Even though it was only a 2-0 scoreline, I feel like Morocco never really stood a chance.
Most FIFA World Cup knockout goals by a football soccer player at 12, Kylian Mbappe. Going into, now this was before this was before Saturday, even though Lionel Messi didn't get a goal. Messi and Mbappe are tied for the most World Cup knockout stage goal contributions in the last 60 years at 14. And again, that changed, and we'll get into that with Argentina, Switzerland. Kylian Mbappe is also the youngest player to start or participate in 20 FIFA World Cup matches and the fastest player to score 20 FIFA World Cup goals. I mean, what more can you say about this guy? I mean, especially because he's won a World Cup in 2018. He's a penalty shootout away, not his fault, by the way. It's a penalty shootout away from being back-to-back world champions and possibly three-peating. I mean, and I do want to say it's not just Mbappe, to clarify, because we talked about how great Olise has been and Dembele has been throughout this World Cup run, but he just the fact that he missed a penalty kick, the fact that was the only real mistake he made in the game, I mean, it's the same thing with Lionel Messi on how he's missed several penalty kicks, but yet they make up for it in the other contributions that they contribute. You're right about the long VAR review. You could see even Mbappe was getting frustrated with that on the pitch. Everyone was waiting for minutes for it to go, and when he missed it, he gave an earful. Who was the official on that too? Facundo Tello, the Argentinian referee, about why are we taking so long with this? Because that's the reason I missed this PK, because I was trying to warm up a position. And you saw several times he had to try and reload in a way to get ready for, the penalty kick. But again, the fact that we're microscoping this penalty kick shows you again how much didn't happen on Morocco's part on the other side, which, I mean, the first half was fine. Morocco was doing what they planned to do. They had a great game plan of just keep Mbappe out of the box, keep everybody. They had a great perimeter defense around the goalkeeper's box entirely. And the fact that France was able to just wear them down and break them down by the time the second half started. I mean, I mentioned 5 attempts on goal, 1 on target by Morocco, 22 on goal, 8 on target for France. I mean, not only that, I'm surprised that this game was tied in the amount of corner kicks they had, 5 each. Like, you would think there would be a whole lot more set play opportunities for France with how much they pressured on the box. But, Thibaut, I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like that was France's game plan that was executed perfectly of just wear down Morocco no matter how much they're defending the box. And by the time they got to the second half, it was just France's game to lose.
Yeah, totally. The midfielder Ayoub Boadi, he confessed exactly that. He confessed that the France like stifles their opponent, the Moroccan team, and really crushes their hopes around the tactics of Mohamed Warbi that we know, Spencer, from Chile. But they really like totally annihilate their hopes and their tactics. And with a good prestation also maybe to mention by Adrien Rabiot,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
French midfielder. Since the beginning of tournament, each time I'm like, I will talk about him at the next round. But this time, like maybe it's the opportunity. Like he really is really able to play since just in front of the defense line to really far on the attacking. So like number 6 to number 9 maybe. It's a really large area of play. Like it's a important player also in the midfield with Kone, Ismail Kone, who did a great job once more. Really solid, a rock, really a rock. Chouameni may be back for the semifinal, but Kone showed he's really able to be on the pitch too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the level of talent that France has coming off the bench is something that really needs to be I mean, they're bringing in guys like Barcola,
yeah.
who would start on 95% of other teams in this tournament. I mean, France is so deep, and I think that the head coach knows that, and I think that's what one of their huge advantages are, is that even if a guy is, going is tired or he's fatigued or he has an injury, like they can bring on somebody of his caliber and still, not miss a beat. That's just goes to show you how deep this France team is.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that we're talking about Dembele. I think by my count, he's now scored with this one. Dembele is now 3 goals total in the World Cup, and Barcola is up to 2 as well. And the fact that we continue to mention Olise when he has not even scored a goal in this FIFA World Cup, it just shows you how there's the whole contributions aspect on how this France team is just so complete. And that's the question I get a lot from people whenever I'm in the airport or transporting. They're like, who's your favorite to win? And is there really anyone who's going to stop France? I mean, they might have a challenge against Spain in the semifinal. Drew and I will get into it in our predictions later, but really France has not looked like a team that's going to be stopped. I mean, yeah, Paraguay gave them a challenge, but it was also heavily blazing heat in Philadelphia that day. So it was a bit of a challenge there. I mean, it was hot in Boston, but the weather, they were kind of used to it. It was at least like 10 to 15 degrees lower, so it didn't feel that bad. But, I mean, the rest of their games, they've won by 2 goals or more. Other than that round of 16 game against Paraguay, all of their competitions have been won with a 2-goal cushion at a minimum. And that's part of what France's game plan has been throughout this FIFA World Cup. We score early, we punch you in the mouth early. If we can't, we wear down your back line so that you don't have a chance to get through the kind of attacks that we're pressuring you with. But I feel for Morocco. I mean, you mentioned Coach Mohammed and how incredible for him to get this Moroccan team to this point, especially after winning the under-20 men's World Cup down in Chile and trying to build off of that momentum. But you could say they ran into a freight train with France, but it's also one of those where if you don't score early, and as we've been saying all podcast long, if you don't create more, if you do not create 10 or more attempts on goal, it's you're just playing with God basically on trying to have a lead, unless you're Egypt, who was able to get two goals on 5 total attempts on goal, which was just a miracle, in itself. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on this, T-Bull, but I just does France, out of the final 4 teams that are left, really have a challenge with whoever they face?
I think it will be like a great game once more because, as you said, the 4 last teams are the 4 best teams at the ranking, FIFA ranking. But Spain is the best defense of the tournament so far. They only conceded 1 goal at the last game, during the last game. So France, it will be a challenge for sure. France also showed they are really solid because in the 3 knockout the 3 games of the knockout stage, they made 3 clean sheets in a row. So it's important also to mention because they prove they are really solid too. So I'm not sure it will be such a attack defense like the previous games. We'll see. It will be, I think, a really great challenge. And also, like one last thing to mention, the semifinal, it will be on the French National Day. So maybe a little push from from fate.
Yeah, for Spain, only 1 conceded goal in this FIFA World Cup, and for France, only 2, and those came in the group stage, their opening game against Senegal and their final game against Norway. Well, Thibault, we don't want to keep you too much more from your vacationing. Hope you enjoy the rest of your time in West France, and we know you'll be watching with ease on that special day, not just for the nation from a sports standpoint, but just from a holiday standpoint, and celebrating celebrating your nation. So appreciate you taking the time as always. Go enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you, guys. I hope the connection was okay. Thank you very much. Have a good podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good. We're used to it in television where there's that couple seconds delay and such, but we dealt with much worse. So, but that was Thibault Lemonet joining us from vacation mode in West France. Man, wouldn't a vacation be nice right now, Drew? Not during this World Cup, but I'm sure on the other side, a vacation probably sounds like it's good on the horizon. But
yeah, man, France is on my bucket list of places to go. So absolutely.
Yeah. I have not been to Europe yet. When I head over there, got a lot of colleagues. We know if we go to France, we got at least one colleague that we could go over and visit in the Paris area. Congratulations to France. They get the victory. As Thibault mentioned, they have not conceded a goal in the knockout round, looking like they maybe should be the number 1 ranked team, but we'll see how it goes on changing the rankings on the other side of this FIFA World Cup. And for Morocco, they had a decent run as they head back over to their nation over across the Atlantic. Okay, moving right along to the second of the quarterfinals to occur, the last game in Los Angeles Stadium as well, even though a lot of media members have said that Los Angeles Stadium should probably be the host of the World Cup final, but
I agree.
At the end of the day, it's going to be over in New York. But Spain, Belgium, 2-1. You know, this is one of those matchups where, yes, Belgium got a statement win against the United States, especially in front of a home ruckus crowd. But history repeats itself again, just like 2014, and it makes a lot of the United States fans seething, just frustrated that they felt we lost to them. But this was, even though on paper the stats are very heavily, this was Spain's match to lose, Belgium was fighting. Like this was one of the bigger balls. And the reason I say on stat line is because 68% ball possession from Spain. Corners 5-1 in favor of Spain. Attempts on goal 17-5. On target 8-2. Even though it did not feel like that in this one, Drew. Like we got a goal in the first 30 minutes by Spain, but De Ketelaere 11 minutes later equalizes it, and we have pretty much a stalemate through the entirety of the second half, even though there was chance after chance. And right? It was weird that well, I say weird about the captain change and the substitution stuff, but Lukaku came in the 60th minute and his streak got broken. Where the moment Lukaku comes in, everyone in that stadium, I'm sure, especially Spain fans, are like, "Oh no, we're tied. Romelu Lukaku is coming into the game. We are screwed." And fortunately, Spain's defense that had not conceded a goal until the competition in the first half was able to hold Lukaku, even though he had several great chances. Like, he was fighting for the ball inside of the box and had some great opportunities. But at the end of the day, Mikel Merino, man, what a shot in the 88th minute to get Spain on top and to advance them into the Final Four. I mean, Los Angeles was treated to a good matchup. It's a heartbreaker for Belgium, but I really don't think anyone was counting on them to win this one.
Yeah, Belgium played just about as good as you could play. Again, no one really expected them to beat the Spain team, and the Spain team looked good throughout the whole game. The way they possess the ball in the midfield is something I haven't seen from any team so far. I mean, they are so good with possession and so good with their build-up play to get into the final third. And I love the way that they utilize Lamine Yamal on that right-hand side to kind of let him draw the defenders and then let him like whip the ball in sometimes. And we saw that on Spain's first goal. But then Belgium got one right back, and it's the same Ketelara again who destroyed the U.S. in the round of 16. He had 2 goals in that game back to back, and then you saw him again with an unbelievable header on a great cross. It was a great build-up play by Kevin De Bruyne as well. Belgium equalized, and they were very much in this game in that second half. Both Spain and Belgium, before Spain got their goal, had chances. And I think the biggest storyline of this game was Thibaut Courtois, Belgium's goalkeeper, who is widely regarded as one of the best keepers in the world right now. He has been for the long. He's dominated the Premier League for a long time. He's been one of the best keepers in the modern history. And I think that him being injured and having to get subbed off and having to bring a backup goalkeeper in for the final 20 minutes, that is a brutal injury, and that's a brutal way to go out. And I think on Spain's last goal, I'm not discrediting Spain. I think they should have won the game. They were the better team. But that goal that they gave up, I don't think they would have given up if Courtois was there. It was unfortunate. It was a long shot, and the goalkeeper kind of just like saved it, but he kind of pushed it a little too far out and allowed Marino to kind of get a little tap in there. I don't think that happens if that's Courtois, but that's all, you can't say if in this World Cup. So unfortunate for Belgium to go out the way they did. They competed. They did stuff that I don't think, for the golden age of Belgium to be gone, losing 2-1 to Spain in a quarterfinal is definitely not something to frown upon or hang your head on. So congrats to Spain. I think Spain has, if any team in this tournament has the potential to beat Spain or to beat France, I think Spain is the team. I truly believe that the 2 best teams are playing in Dallas for this semifinal. So it's going to be interesting to see. I can't wait for that matchup. And congrats to Spain, man. They're looking to build. They're looking to try to run back their 2010 World Cup title. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, they got a little bit of a ways to go, but I tell you, this is one of those matchups where it felt like, and granted, I saw a 2-0 victory for France. This felt like it was the more calm of the quarterfinals in a way, which it's weird to say because we talked about it, and we're gonna get into the recap of the Saturday quarterfinals, but we talked about previewing in about the melting popsicle game. We talked about Switzerland trying to play a dagger upset. Talked about how France and Morocco is a spirited rivalry and such. This one just felt like it was more. I don't know. I wasn't as hyped by it. And maybe that's part of me taking a sort of, well, they beat the United States, so what do I care? But it felt like I mean, it just felt like one of those that, not that it was underplayed, but it just felt it didn't have a lot of draw to it, but it also wasn't like a foregone conclusion of this is going to be a horrible match. It just didn't really, But now, granted, the attendance numbers of the people who were in there, about 70,492, they, of course, didn't care. But you also saw part of that with how steep the price dropped on those tickets average. Like, it was with the United States potentially going there. Now, granted, again, people in the United States, it makes sense, but it just felt like one of the weird matchups. I don't know. It just, out of
Yeah,
all the quarterfinals, I wasn't looking at this one and thinking like, oh yeah, Spain, Belgium, this is going to be a barn burner. This is going to
I
be
agree.
great. And it ended up being that way. Like you said, you hate it for Courtois, especially with an injury. And I'm kind of on the side with you. I don't know if Courtois makes that save, even though he's, one of the best goalkeepers around right now. But it's still one of those that, when you have your veteran leader who's been a big reason why you got to this point, because the fact that he basically had a clean sheet in the previous round against the United States, it's just off of that free kick in the wall, blocking his vision. That's the only way one snuck past him. But after the game, he was lights out and had no issues there. But yeah, this is one of those matchups to me where it's kind of a repeat of 2014, where even in the golden age of Belgium, they just can't hang with the big boys in a way.
Mhm.
But fun fact for you, especially with this win and the other results, a UEFA team has been in the World Cup final for 19 straight tournaments, which is obviously guaranteed because of France and Spain, with both of them being in UEFA. The 1950 final between Brazil and Uruguay was the last time without one. So that shows you how dominant UEFA has been in terms of their production in the World Cup. And yeah, you could say as well, if Belgium had won, it would have been the same thing because they would have stuck around. But this is one of those that I don't know. It didn't interest me as much as the rest of the quarterfinals, but it ended up being a decent match. And yeah, think about 18-year-old Lamine Yamal, who won the Euros, has the potential to be playing in a World Cup final. And when we were talking about Australia, Egypt with that 18-year-old kid on penalty kicks in an elimination game, but you've got a kid who's at 18 years old representing Spain that does not look phased at all by the spotlight. Now that is worth its weight in television gold, especially when we've got the
Absolutely.
semifinal coming up in Dallas.
Absolutely, and he has the potential to really at 18, which I actually, if I could be wrong, but I know his birthday is coming up. I don't know when, but I don't know if that like lines up with the semifinal, but I know it's somewhere. I know he turns 19 very soon. I don't know when it is, but the fact that he before the age of 19 could have a Euros and a World Cup to his name would be just absolutely sensational. And he's a very he's just so talented.
We are recording this on the birthday of Lamine Yamal,
As it
July
today.
13th, 2007. So
How
happy
about that?
birthday, Lamine. I'm sorry I said your match was boring. I take it back. But not like he's listening to this thing anyways. But yeah,
Mm-mm.
he's 19. So yeah, still a young kid. At the age of 19 to be playing at the age of 19 to be playing in a World Cup semifinal is already incredible enough. Regardless of the result, to even be at a chance to be in the third place playoff, even better too. Now, granted, the losers of the semis have to go down to Miami, which France has not played in Miami. I think out of all that's actually a good question. I don't think Spain has played down in Miami for any of the matches either. England and Argentina have, so I'm sure both of them are like, could we please not go back to
Anywhere
Miami?
but there.
Can we please go to New York, New Jersey? But yeah, it's a congratulations worthy for Spain, especially for them to find a goal in the 88th minute instead of going to extra time. Because I do think, depending on if Courtois stays healthy in that game, you get into a penalty shootout with Courtois, you're in for some trouble. And I mean, not only that, I mean, Unai Simon has also been great on the goaltending side for Spain too. I mean, granted, it's again the back line has also held pretty well to where he hasn't had that many tests, but it's we'll see how it goes. But Spain moves on. Belgium has to go back across the Atlantic. Okay, the melting popsicle game very much lived up to its hype in a way. But I was off base. I thought that this was going to be a 1-0 game. I was wrong, but I was right that England won it, but it took extra time. I I wonder if at halftime players for both teams had enough of a chance to shower to get all the sweat off of them from the humidity and then go out there and just have to sweat again. Like, it's games like that are why hydration breaks were added to the FIFA
For
World
sure.
Cup. But it's again, side note, again, Miami. Who in their right mind decides, you know what, let's build an outdoor stadium in Miami for playing football? Like, come on, guys. Like, but anyways, Norway, England, I said going into the prediction that whoever wins this game probably deserves to win the World Cup, especially playing in the extreme conditions that were down there in the Panhandle. And, it delivered. Surprisingly, Erling Haaland did not score a goal, which probably was the difference maker in this one. I mean, Norway did open it up with, I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name because I'm going to butcher it, but Andreas in the 36th minute, great goal. And then Jude Bellingham. Even though Harry Kane has been one of the top guys, I mean, Bellingham has also been there in his own right in this World Cup, but Jude Bellingham. The fact that he scored both goals and the one coming at the end of the first half, which I don't even think this was a game of two halves, Drew. Not like the tale of two halves we mentioned. Probably a tale of two sets of time in terms of regulation, staying at a close draw, and then Jude Bellingham with that amazing rocket of a shot, man. Like, it's just. I tell you, especially in the 93rd minute, to just set the tone and going from there. Like, this was very much a dead even game. Now, granted, England had 3 more shots on target than Norway, but this was one of those very much stalemate competitions between the two.
Yeah, this was such a good game. This was such an even game. I think both teams really struggled from the heat, but I think ultimately at the end, this came down to fatigue and what players are just meant for the moment and what players have been there before. And honestly, it came down to talent. And England is the more talented team than Norway. I love Norway. I've loved them this whole World Cup, the whole story, the row that they do, their fans. I love all that stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing for our country as well that we get immersed with, that kind of culture. And it was a fantastic performance start to finish from this team. And I will say they opened up pretty passive. I didn't like the way that they started the first 25 minutes. And then after the first half hydration break, I think Norway started to pressure England's back line a lot more and started to create a little bit of havoc. And then when they did, they actually ended up finding a goal. And it was an unbelievable finish. I'm not even sure if he meant to cross that or shoot it. I wasn't really sure, but regardless, it was an unbelievable finish. And they actually had a chance to go up 2-0. Norway was on a huge breakaway, and it was Sorloth with the ball, and all he had to do was lay it off to Haaland, but he just couldn't get the ball underneath his feet, and ended up with a Pickford save. But England, you knew they were going to get a goal. I mean, this is too talented of a team to not, and Jude Bellingham did on a really, really good cross from Gordon on that left side into Bellingham. And Bellingham, it was not easy. His goal, I mean, he went through like 3 Norwegian defenders and finished with a nice left foot into the right corner. That's what Jude Bellingham does. He's done it all World Cup. His performance against Mexico was out of this world. And I think that his performance again today against Norway was incredible as well. And they were able to even it before half. And this was just a game where I feel like Erling Haaland, for as amazing as he's been in this World Cup, I feel like he genuinely just ran out of gas, and that's why they late subbed him on or off in extra time. And it was unfortunate to see him like that, but he genuinely had no gas left in the tank, and it was just that simple. And I feel like a lot of Norway players felt this as well. And I honestly thought this game was going to go to PKs based off everything. I mean, this was a very even game in terms of shots and, possession and all that. But I do think it came down at the end to the level of talent that this England team has, and Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. And I knew when they got that goal in extra time, I didn't think Norway was going to get one back. There was a little bit of a controversial call. I don't know if it was that controversial on the second Norway goal that got called back because of a foul on Holland. I think Holland is just too big of a guy. He overpowered his defender, but that was really the only thing that was kind of an unfortunate thing for Norway. I do feel like England is the better team and they deserve to win this game. And it's now or never for England. I mean, this is a team that has that stereotype that they choke in big moments and they can't get the job done when it matters. This is their time to prove all of that wrong against Argentina. And I really am looking forward to this game. They have so many supporters. A lot of my friends, a lot of my buddies are England fans, and they feel really confident about their matchup with Argentina simply because they don't feel like Argentina's played a top dog yet, which they haven't. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But I was really impressed with England, especially in the blazing heat in South Beach.
Yeah, you're not wrong about Erling Haaland basically running out of gas. I mean, the man scored 7 of Norway's goals in this FIFA World Cup. So, like, he was carrying the team on his back in a way. So I am not surprised that, especially when it gets to that heat and fatigue, like, at least, and I mentioned this about England against Mexico in the previous round of how they came into a hostile environment, but I guarantee you, maybe they win against Mexico if it's hot and humid in Estadio Azteca and it's not raining and a lightning delay. I don't know if they win this second game. I think England runs out of gas if they had back-to-back extreme heat games, like
For sure.
genuinely, because not just because we talked about this where Stu Holden said prior to the tournament about they're going to melt. So far they haven't, and they get to play in an indoor arena for the semi at least. And I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned Holland scored 7 of their goals. I mean, for England, by my count, Harry Kane has 6 of England's goals so far in this tournament. Jude Bellingham is a little bit behind him on now. What is it? 6 goals now.
I think Bellingham's
Make sure I
tied with
got that
Kane,
right.
actually.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now he is. Yeah, they both have 6 goals, so both of them are the same scoring leaders for this England team. And I, part of me, let me look back and just go deeper on the stats here. Oh, Harry Kane. Okay, he played 138 minutes, 3 attempts on goal, 1 on target, 1 foul against, 1 foul for. So he was getting some production done, and I'd have to look at the advanced metrics on like his passes and how much he had completed and such, but that's how you're going to have longevity in long tournaments like this, especially with all the mixture of environmental conditions. Because Harry Kane didn't have to score a goal, he got some production done, but he was more helping to make sure that Jude Bellingham was in good position on a lot of those shots. And um, I know it's great that he did not have back-to-back games with a meme generated with him losing his voice in Mexico, so that
Yeah.
way he could actually focus on the stuff on the pitch. But man, it sets up a great semifinal in Atlanta. Like, we are very privileged to be able to witness these Final Four teams that are coming on. But before we get on to that, we got one more to recap. But congratulations to England. I mean, especially for a team that you guys went to the semifinal back in 2018, and you're now in it for the second time in 3 editions of the World Cup. Hopefully it goes a little bit better in your favor, but we'll talk about that in our predictions. And for Norway, I mean, your star Erling Haaland said France is probably going to win it. So, I mean, he got what he wished for in that they weren't going as far. They went farther than anyone thought they would,
Mhm.
and made a really good impact, especially with their upset against Brazil. I mean, I wouldn't say Ivory Coast was an upset. It was a close matchup and such, but it's still pretty incredible to think about in these sort of things. But again, congratulations to Norway on the kind of run you guys had, and Side note, I thought it was cool, the British Airways, Norwegian Air kind of beef
Yeah,
they had
I
on
saw
social
that.
media where they swapped their logos and everything. Norwegian Air was their social media team followed through and did that sort of swap. So that was kind of fun that they had that spirited rivalry. Okay. The match that is the reason why I am functioning off of 3 hours of sleep right now. Argentina, Switzerland. The reason I say 3 hours of sleep is because it's story time before we get into the match. 8 o'clock was when it was kicked off in Kansas City. We went to extra time. 10 o'clock is about when the match was over. We go to the stand-up mix zones. 3 players come in. Gets to about 11. We go to the main mix zone where all the players are supposed to walk through. And just to give you an insight, folks, as well to the setup they had in Kansas City, the mix zone, they had the stand-up stations that was underneath the stadium in air conditioning, down one of the elevators from the media side. The linear zone where everyone has to walk through to get to the buses was literally in the loading bay for cars to like go underneath, and it was a fence and backgrounds and such. The press conference was attached to the media center on the outside of the parking lot. We saw both coaches taken on golf carts to go over to the press conference and back. Argentina's coach, Scaloni, he did not get carted to the press conference until midnight. We're
Good
waiting
lord.
there for an hour. The Swiss coach came before him, and he got carted back. The Swiss people started walking through, and Scaloni, he came back through at like 12:30, 12:45. The Argentinian players didn't start walking through until 1 in the morning. And Lionel Messi did not start walking through there until about 1:20. And he
Jeez.
stopped for one section of television people, stopped for one section of the press area. And it was to the point where Scaloni, we saw him about 1:20 when other players are stopping. He got carted over with the golf cart. He walked through to go to the team bus. 1:15 rolls around. He walks back, and you could see him talking to his other team officials. And pretty much what the rest of the media people were telling me is that based on his body language and everything, he's basically saying, we need to get on the bus. It's 1:30 in the morning. What are we doing lollygagking around here? And it's obvious you're not going to. The last guy they're waiting on is Lionel Messi, who's just wanting to make sure he talks to the media and gives answers and things, which mad respect to him for wanting to, continue to talk to people and give answers and things. So Spencer didn't get back to his hotel room until 2:30. And I almost missed my Amtrak from Kansas City going to St. Louis to catch my flight back over here. I literally showed up 4 minutes before the train was going to leave, ran down to the loading bay, and the train was literally starting to chug away. And fortunately, the staff let me on. So that's some fun insights for you on the kind of travels that I get to have during this FIFA World Cup. But anyways, getting derailed here. So I was at that Argentina-Switzerland matchup. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about in this one, man. I mean, Switzerland has gotten a lot farther than a lot of people thought they would, especially when we're talking about this sort of, not. I wouldn't say it's a golden age necessarily of Switzerland, like Belgium. I mean, there is the sentiment that was given about that likely this is the start of the end for this era with Switzerland, especially this is their 6th straight appearance in the FIFA World Cup, which is pretty impressive in its own right. Granit Xhaka is probably done, more than likely. I mean, unless he continues to play pretty well and he wants to play in 2030. But, I mean, you think about it he's one of the last remaining members of this kind of golden generation in a way that had Zedarian Shaqiri, Jan Sommer, Stefan Lichtsteiner, Fabian Schär, and a whole bunch of other ones. But, he's going to be 38 in 2030. So maybe he does. I mean, we see Messi doing great things at 39, and Ronaldo would possibly be, in his mid-40s if he somehow, I know he said he's done, but I still have an inkling feeling with Portugal hosting in 2030. Why would you not just play one match or something like that and then just, be done with it, But that's besides the point. In terms of the match itself, Argentina opening up the scoring within the first 10 minutes. I mean, pretty much halftime. The fact that this was only a 1-0 game, we were talking about this with France, of beating down Morocco's defense. Switzerland was not, through the majority of this game, even after the red card, which makes sense, but even up to the red card, it felt like this Swiss team was scared to put any pressure on Argentina because they know, and like most teams know, if we pressure too hard, a mistake's going to open up, and either Messi or McAllister, anyone on the forward or midfield, they're going to take advantage of it and quickly head down the other way. And this is one thing I've noticed about Argentina too, is that they do so well, and very few teams know how to do this. It always feels like there's a more urgency to pressure on the ball. Like anytime they're running faster, having like an extra second or two of more pressure to get to the ball and win those 50-50 challenges and make it to where you have to make split-second decisions. And even on offense, they're doing the same thing of a lot more one-touches and a lot more just instant decision-making to be able to pass the ball around. Having said that, I think the Swiss should have gotten a lot more pressure on. And I've got my thoughts on the Brill and Bolo situation, but I want to make sure you've got the floor to chat about some stuff here. But the last thing I'll say in terms of the stat line, 22 attempts on goal for Argentina, 11 for Switzerland, 7 attempts on goal for Argentina, 5 for the Swiss. Argentina 8-2 on corner kicks, Drew. 8-2, a lot more set piece opportunities, which is part of why Argentina was able to find several of these incredible, moments, including, I believe it was that first goal, or maybe the second one from McAllister. Yeah, it was that first goal from McAllister. He wasn't even trying to head it towards the net. Like, it hit off of the side of his dang head and just had a really lucky curl and bounce to get into the net, which was just incredible. And then second half opened up, Dan Ndoye finally finding the equalizer. I mean, it's just sometimes when you have I know there was incredible curl in extra time for Argentina to get that second goal and start taking the lead, but I mean, we just had some incredible shots. And, Dan Ndoye, that is the only way that anyone is going to beat Emiliano Martinez in net, is you have to go coast to coast on that, which he did to the other side of the corner. Anyways, I've been rambling on too long. I'll talk about Mbolo's red card decision when we get in a little bit. But Drew, your thoughts on watching this one?
Yeah, so I mean, Switzerland, I think that nobody expected them to win this game, but they battled, man. I mean, this was a really competitive game. I think that Argentina, yes, they kind of dominated, and after they got that first goal, which was an unbelievable header, by the way, you mentioned it, again, off a corner, off a set piece, I thought that this was going to be okay. Once Argentina got that goal in the first 10 minutes, I was like, all right, this might be like a 2-0, 3-0 end in regulation game. But then Switzerland gets that goal 23 minutes into the second half, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's a 1-1 game now, and it's really anybody's game to lose. And we've seen Argentina in these moments. They were like this with Egypt, where it comes down to crunch time. They were like this with Cape Verde, came down to crunch time, and it was the same way in this one as well. And Argentina's second goal to put them up in extra time was absolutely up. Like, it was one of the best finishes I've seen in the entire tournament so far. And it was really unfortunate for this Swiss team. I think that the red card from Mbolo, which was technically a second yellow that gave him a red. I agree with the decision after watching the replay. I think that it was a flop. There's no question about it. I think that it was the right call. It was just an unfortunate timing call because the game was still 1-1 at that point. The Swiss having to play a man down is a very big disadvantage, especially against the Argentina team that pounces on, disadvantages like that. And it was unfortunate. I do think that Argentina was going to win regardless, but it would have been interesting to see a little bit more of the game at 11v11. Argentina, to me, didn't look that solid in the final third. I think they could have, the 22 shots to 7 on target ratio is not something that you want from, when you're playing a great, and again, a lot of talk about how this Argentina team is the first ever ever World Cup team to make it to the semifinals without playing a top 10 team, which is kind of crazy to think about. They made it this far and they have not played a top 10 nation. It blows my mind. But they didn't look that solid in the final third in this game. And this is a Switzerland team that, yes, they're good, but it's also Switzerland. They're about to take on an England team that is very good, and they have proven themselves time and time again. So Argentina's got a lot to think about and a lot to weigh in on this next game as they prepare to take on England. But it's one of those games that it's going to come down to the wire. You just know it. I mean, this is an Argentina team that is very they're very experienced. They know what it takes to be in these moments. They've been in the finals, time and time again. They were in the final in 2014. They were, and unfortunately lost to Germany, and then they won the World Cup in 22. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see this matchup. And yeah, it was a tough loss for the Swiss, but I don't think anybody expected them to take out the defending champs.
Yeah, it's weird. The only credit you can somewhat give to Argentina on this is that they don't concede that many goals in terms of when it comes to crunch time. I mean, because you go through their round of 32 stuff. I say that, and they gave up 2 to Cabo Verde. Now, granted, the same thing that happened with this the second goal by Julian Alvarez that Cabo Verde did against them, where you just have such incredible finishes that Courtois ain't even stopping that shot. Like, there's just no way. Like, and again, coming from a former goaltender's perspective, I would be lucky if I'm even in position to be able to stop that sort of thing, because it had the bend it like Beckham moment. Absolutely. Absolutely, Breel and Bola should have gotten his second yellow. Like, first yellow, it's just don't put yourself in a situation, first off, where you're going to get 2 yellows and get a red card, first off. And second off, there was a foul called on the other player, and VAR stepped in for a player misidentification thing to see who it actually was. And FIFA made this a huge point of emphasis coming into this tournament, and even before, where they're trying to say, hey, we're done with flopping. And Bola just straight, and I remember texting you right after it happened. Not only that, I was sitting next to several colleagues of ours who were they were from some other outlets and things, but they were mostly there covering the Swiss, and they're looking at that monitor at the replay, and they're like, "Yeah, that's stupid." Like, it was just so stupid. Why he was not getting clipped in any
Yeah,
capacity, and he
yeah.
just literally flops, like, trying to get the foul, and that's what FIFA has clearly
You
made a
can't
point of
do that when
emphasis.
you can't do that when you already have a yellow. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
You gotta be smarter than that.
I mean, not even that, the stakes in the game. Like, and it just irritates me that Granit and several other players, they were asked about the red card, and it makes sense. Media's going to ask about that stuff, but every one of them was saying the officiating was the problem. The officiating wasn't the problem in this one. The problem is that you were not pressuring Argentina up until that red card,
Mhm.
until the second yellow. Like the entire time, like I mentioned, I mean, you got 11 shots on target, or 5 of them on target, 11 total. But like when you're getting outshot 22 to 11, and I mean, when you're only possessing the ball 41% of the time, like, it's just it's just one of those that I look at this, and there were so many obvious mistakes that it gets irritating. Like, we talked about this with Egypt, where why are they not framing this a different way of 3 goals in 11 minutes? But in this case, it was very much, at least in my opinion, I'm like, why are we not focusing more on why did he get the yellow card in the first half? Like,
Mhm.
why is this an issue? And from there, they were just playing on their backs. I mean, man, I hate it for the Swiss as well, because they played a decent game getting into the first half and had that incredible coast-to-coast finish to tie it up and send it to extra time. Lionel Messi did mention that in the mix zone about how fatigue might be an issue, and they're going to see how they can mitigate that. But they've now played 2 extra time games here in the elimination phase, and they've played against a tough they played Cabo Verde and now, Switzerland 2 games in a row. Actually, I beg your pardon. I'm looking at the wrong stuff. Yeah, but 2 of the last 3 games they played in extra time. They almost went to extra time against Egypt. If they hadn't found that late
Shut up.
game, it would have gone 3 games in a row extra time. Like, fatigue is starting to have a bit of a challenge for him here. So, I uh, I think you're right. I'm concerned about Argentina now, as I was against Cabo Verde, where they're starting to show some really big concerning moments. And again, it's not a disrespect to Switzerland. It's just that, again, nobody was really expecting him to go that far. But I mean, it was not only that, I will say as well, when you're playing against a ruckus crowd that's in blue and white jerseys, like I saw maybe a handful of Swiss fans that were mixed in within the sea of Argentina fans, man. And that's just, it is so tough to play against when you have a full on crowd that's wearing a whole bunch of Argentina jerseys that also have number 10. And when they're cheering anytime Lionel Messi gets the ball in his possession, I mean, it's tough to play against. But, for Switzerland, they head home, even if they think officiating was the issue on it. They head back over across the Atlantic, and man, Argentina somehow, some way continues to go along, and they're now guaranteed at least 2 more games here in this FIFA World Cup. All right, speaking of which, we got 4 games total. Hard to believe we have match 100 starting when this episode, the day before this episode publishes, man. I don't know how we got to this point and how we're already accelerated along, but let's get into it, man. Time to predict the semifinals. All right, France and Spain in Dallas as the first semifinal between the final 4 teams. Number 2 versus number 3. I tell you, even though I said that the Spain-Belgium quarterfinal looked a little bit boring, Spain has only conceded 1 goal throughout this FIFA World Cup. France has only conceded 2, and those 2 came in the group stage competitions. I don't know if Spain is necessarily rattled by that 1 goal getting past them. I don't think it's going to make as huge of a factor. But Mbappe, Elise, Dembele, as much as I have to try and stay neutral here because their colleagues Thibault and Isma, I'm not even convinced this is going to go to penalty kicks. I think maybe extra time on this, but France is going to its 4th straight World Cup final appearance, man. Like, I can't in good cause pick against them, which I guess technically on paper this is an upset, 3 versus 2, but even then it doesn't feel like it because, yes, Spain hasn't conceded a goal, but if Spain blows out Cabo Verde, completely different story here. But they've been kind of playing catch-up in a way to get to the knockout stage. I mean, they blew out Saudi Arabia, obviously, and had a statement comeback. I mean, you can also talk about, that 1-0 win against Uruguay, both of them kind of playing desperately to get into the elimination round. And the fact that they also were just 1 goal separated from going to extra time against Ronaldo and Portugal is also a little more concerning to me. And yes, I get it. 1-0 win against Paraguay in the round of 16 and a team that barely escaped Germany in penalty shots. I get that. I do not care. France, again, Mbappe, Olise, Dembele. However, this will go to extra time. I will say the score is 2-1. Would not be surprised if maybe there's a cushion goal towards the very end of extra time where Spain makes a mistake and France just charges it down the other way. But I think this goes to extra time, and I think that France advances to its 3rd straight FIFA World Cup final.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much almost dead on what I'm predicting. I think that these are the 2 best teams in the tournament in my opinion between France and Spain. And although Spain has not given up they've given up 1 goal this entire tournament, which is so impressive. They've also not faced a offensive attack like Mbappe, Olise, and Dembele, and even just the other guys on front like Barcola, Doué. There's just so many good players on this France team that the Spain back line and goalkeeper have not been tested like this yet, in my opinion. I mean, they're honestly, if we're talking about in terms of overall talent as a team, you know, Spain's only really played Belgium. I guess, I wouldn't say, I don't know how you feel about the Uruguay game, but I don't know that I would consider. I mean, Portugal to me, I've talked about them before, but they didn't look good this entire tournament, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and their attack didn't look good either. But Spain hadn't been tested like they're about to get tested. And although they are a great team, and like I said, they're the second best team, in my opinion, I just genuinely do not see a way that France doesn't win this game. I think it will also go to extra time 1-1. And actually, what you had said about it being 2-1 and then Spain kind of getting lackadaisical, trying to push for a goal. France will counterattack in those final minutes, make it 3-1 in extra time. I think that is how the game will finish. I think France will win by a 2-goal margin, and they will advance to their third straight World Cup final. And T-Bowl and all of France will be thrilled with the result.
Especially on their national holiday, too. I'll take it even a step further. Lamine Yamal scores the lone goal for Spain. He gets to be the hero at the age of 19, especially day after his birthday. I think I'm gonna say Olise. I'll say Olise gets
He
one
deserves a
goal for
goal.
France in this one. I think he gets his first goal in this FIFA World Cup, and then Mbappe's the hero. Now, I'm not going to be as bold as to say it's on a penalty kick, which would be do justice, especially with him missing that last one against Morocco. But I think Yamal scores the lone goal, maybe as the equalizer, I think.
Yeah.
I think Olise maybe gets the opening goal on a corner or set play or free kick. And then Mbappe becomes the hero because, again, he knows what happens with what happened the last time with penalty kicks for France. So he's saying we're not going to go quietly into the night or even leave it on that sort of aspect. Any differences on that?
Yeah, I do think Elise definitely deserves a goal. He deserves one more than anybody on this France team. I mean, he's leading the World Cup in assists for a reason. I mean, all he does is set up his teammates. But I do think Elise will score. I think that Dembele will actually get the first goal for France. And then I think that I'll say Yamal, Lamine Yamal scores to equalize, and then in extra time, Elise and maybe Barcola get the second and third goal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Dembele if he manages to get a goal on there. I just we want to give Elise some love. He's got to get at least one goal scored here in this FIFA World Cup. Number 1 versus number 4. The defending World Cup champions against England, who has not won it all since 1966. Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham have been incredible throughout this World Cup. We mentioned the amount of goals that they've had. Yes, they tied with Ghana. Ghana ended up being a pretty decent team. Yes, they probably could have scored more goals against Panama if they wanted to, but at that point they basically locked up the group, so there was no point. They got the victory against Croatia as well in what a lot of people thought would have been a tie, or at least a lot closer than a 4-2 win. They got through Congo DR as well. Harry Kane scoring both of the goals in that game, by the way. They knocked out the hosts in Mexico City in a thriller. And they survived the excess humidity and heat of Miami to get through Norway. Argentina, blowout win against Algeria, blowout win against Austria, blowout win against Jordan. I don't know why there wasn't more of a conversation, Drew, of how there was a lot of convo, at least from what I picked up on, with, the United States got an easy draw. Mexico got a pretty decent draw. Canada also got a favorable group as well. Argentina got the best draw of all the teams in this World Cup, hands down. Like, they did not have a challenge at all in the group stage. And that's part of why Cabo Verde sort of woke them up, because Cabo Verde is a lot better team than we realized. And the fact that their goaltender is rumored to be signing with Inter Miami CF as well shows you that. The fact that they had to go to extra time with Switzerland, the fact that they had to come back in the final 11 minutes against Egypt and Mohamed Salah. I'm concerned about these things. Here, it's time for me to be bold, Drew. It is time. Lionel Messi falls. Lionel Messi and Argentina, they finally fall in the World Cup on their title defense campaign. I think that the challenge of England is too much. I think that England finally exercises the demons and gets back to their first FIFA World Cup final in decades. And I think that there will be a lot of questions now about whether or not this puts a stain on Messi's legacy or not, because every one of us were talking about he's lifted the trophy in Doha, in Lusail Stadium. Why would he not retire and be done with the national team? And now you're going to have a lot of questions on that. But what I will say is that Argentina will not lose because of Lionel Messi. They will lose because the other players will get outclassed by Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham and the rest of the attack for England. So this one also goes to extra time, and I say that this ends up being a it's not going to be a shutout for either side. Everyone's going to Messi will score at least one goal. I'm going to go 3-2. I think this goes a little bit more of a distance and is a lot higher scoring. I think both of the goaltenders really get tested in this one. Pickford will be really tested, and it'll require some incredible curls. I think, did I lose the name? Ramirez. You see, again, 3 hours of sleep is what I'm functioning on right now. But I think both goaltenders are tested. I think the shots that go in have to be incredible bends and or unlucky, bounces that go into the back of the net. But I think England wins this 3-2. They finally exercise the demons, and they knock down the number one team on the FIFA Coca-Cola rankings, which, if the predictions go right, it'll be UEFA winning the World Cup guaranteed for 2026. And you know how much I'm not going to predict the final because we have to wait until the teams are, but you know how much it would frustrate United States citizens that just after their 250th birthday, the nation they seceded from could potentially lift it in the final. I got England pulling off the upset in this one, 3-2.
Yeah, I think this is one of the games where Argentina's lack of tough opponents comes back to bite them. I think that this England team is built different in this World Cup so far, and I think that this is an England team that it's more promising than past years. I genuinely feel like it's their moment. I feel like it's their time, and I feel like they're ready for it all. Argentina has looked good, but they also have looked shaky, and we really haven't seen them tested against a top dog because, like we said, they have not played a top 10 team yet. So really interesting. It's kind of an unfortunate scenario for Argentina because you almost you're at the point now where you had wanted to get some tough games, behind you. That way you feel more confident for games like England. But this is going to be a great game. It's going to be a thriller. I have it going 2-2. And then I'll say, I don't know. I kind of want to say 1-1 going into extra time. And then I have both England and Argentina getting a goal in extra time. And then I have PKs. Give me PKs for this game. And I have England winning in PKs. I have Pickford getting the winning save. I think that would be such a big momentum swing for this England team as they look to, win the whole thing in New York. That would be absolutely electric if that happened. But honestly, this is going to be a barn burner. I really do think that Argentina has the experience and they have the championship pedigree, but give me England in PKs.
I was so close to picking this one for penalty kicks as well, but I wanted to keep both of them matching because as much as it would be great if both semis went to penalty kicks, I don't think that's happening in France, Spain. I think it's just, even if you get to extra time, it's too overwhelming, but I could definitely see it. And again, Messi and Kane will not be the reason that either of their teams lose in this semifinal. I guarantee it. We
Yeah.
saw it with Australia, where the star captain missed the penalty kick at the start and didn't really perform as well as he should have against Egypt. But it will not come down solely to Messi and Kane in this one. And on that note as well, Bellingham will not be a reason that they lose either. It'll come down to how the rest of the supporting pieces, go down in that. But man, we are in for such a treat in the next
Such a treat.
the semifinals round. I mean, not even that. I know we're not talking about it because we're talking about who's going to the World Cup final, but even the teams that fall in this one, like based on my predictions, Spain, Argentina in the third place playoff. I mean, I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine with those teams squaring off for. Spain will finally get a taste of the excess humidity and heat down in Miami. Argentina's already used to it for a couple of their matches, so that'll be fun. But man, we got some good semis coming up, and again, they're indoors, so weather will not be a factor in any way, shape, or form in these ones. It'll be climate controlled, so that way it's a more level playing field before you get up to New York for the final. But, whew, a lot shorter episodes than we're normally used to. They're just getting shorter and shorter with the last bit of matches we have to recap and preview as we go forward, man. But man, it's yeah. The other thing we were gonna tell you guys about Fanatics Fest. We got credentials to it. They let these wolves into the hen house basically. But man, I tell you, I think we're definitely going to do a lot more on the social media side on Instagram for doing like some flash interviews and chatting with folks all across New York and such, which will be a lot of fun. But man, I've never been to Fanatics Fest. I know they just started it in the last couple of years, but to be a part of it, including there's also the FIFA World Cup final press conference that's going to be there on Friday. But already the concrete jungle where dreams are made of is pretty cool whenever you go visit itself. But to be inside of the place where literal legends throughout various sports are.
It's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts. Yeah, no, I mean the amount of people, the athletes and celebrities that are gonna be there is just it's to be in the same room as some of the people we're going to be in the same room as is just incredible, and I can't wait. It's really a once a dream come true, honestly, to cover a Fanatics Fest. So I can't wait.
Yeah, and it's a good thing we got our lodging situated in New York too, with how expensive it is during the final and everything. But man, no shot we get a selfie with Tom Brady, right?
Well, I actually texted him today. Me and Tom are cool and everything, so I texted him, and he said like we will absolutely be able to take one.
No,
So.
you see, I could do that with Noah Eagle. Like that one will be guaranteed at least, but Tom Brady, no way, no way. If you were
That would be
texting
great
him, I think,
though.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think it would be fair to say if you were in texting relations with Tom Brady, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. You'd be well on your way in your career, my friend. Like, we would not have to worry about any of that stuff. But, man, so on that note, we will try to squeeze in a podcast for you guys after the semifinals to also preview the final and third place game. Will obviously be in New York, so a little bit different circumstances. But we'll have a lot of social media content on for Fanatics Fest and talking about those aspects as well. But the quarterfinal round is done. We're on to the semifinals, the Final Four, one of the most exciting times of the tournament. So great stuff, as always. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up another episode of the NSMA 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast. Make sure you check that link in the description. Make sure you donate to support the podcast as we get into these final episodes here in the World Cup. For Drew Williams and all the hardworking men and women that make this run so smoothly, special thanks again to T-Bull for joining us. I'm Spencer Tomsett saying so long from various parts of the USA. On to the Final Four in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Hey there, thank you so much for listening or watching the NSMA 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast. A special thank you to our Platinum Insiders, the Banzet family, Robert Eggleston and Jason Edmonds, for their support of the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast and my journey to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the link is in the description. Not only are all donations potentially tax deductible, as the NSMA is a 501c3 nonprofit, but you also can get your name here on this graphic in the description, and you could get some exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Appreciate those of you who have donated so far, those who are going to donate, and hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast during the 2026 FIFA World Cup.